The Barroom Network presents two fired-up Bears fans. They are ready to rumble on the Bear Debate.
You're listening to the Ballroom Network. The following program is intended for all audiences. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Goon Podcast with your hosts, Joe Mandel, the Goon, and the man with the plan, Adam Schaum. We're bringing you the fantasy football knowledge that you need every single week.
Derrick Henry still going. Stays in bounds. He might go. 99 yards for the touchdown. Unbelievable.
Flush that again all the way back. Turning the corner. Fires downfield. Caught. Touchdown. Only Mahomes turns what might have been a 15-yard sack into a 27-yard touchdown.
Saquon Barkley across midfield, down the sideline, stayed in bounds, and Barkley takes it all the way. 68 yards for his first NFL touchdown. McCaffrey right up the middle, and he is gone for the touchdown. 58 yards. Pass is to Thomas. He's gone. Touchdown Saints.
Okay, it's time for the easiest part of any coach's job, the cut. Now, while I wasn't able to cut everyone I wanted to, I have cut a lot of you. Steven, I like your hustle. That's why it was so hard to cut you. Congratulations, the rest of you made the team. Except you, and you.
God bless fantasy football. There are many things a man can do with his time. And this is better than those things.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Fantasy Football Goon. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mandel, the Goon, and I'm joined by my co-host, Adam Schaum, the man with the plan. Adam, how you doing this fine Sunday morning?
Good morning, Joe. I'm doing great. Ready to get Week 9 started.
Yes, sir, and Week 9 has got off to a bit of a bang with kind of some surprise breaking news this morning.
Yeah.
The biggest, of course, is breaking as of moments ago. Tua Tagovailoa is out today with a small fracture in the middle finger of his throwing hand. Jacoby Brissett will start in his place against the putrid Houston Texans, Adam. A lot of people, you and me included, had Tua as a great start in fantasy today in what's going to be a high-scoring game against the Texans. You know, how did we not hear about this all week? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. This one kind of came out of nowhere, Joe. Like you said, I had two as a start of the week this week until moments ago. I was really expecting him to have a big game versus, like you said, the terrible Houston defense. And all I've really heard is apparently he fractured this finger during the end of the game last week and kind of kept it to himself. And I'm guessing he probably thought he could play through it, and it must have nagged him here coming into Sunday. And here we are with Jacoby Brissett behind center again, and I think that could mean good things for Mike Gesicki once more.
I would say so. I mean, he is the safety blanket of that offense, and I would expect him to have a big day. So I have a feeling you're going to hear about Mike Gesicki probably from both of us again later in the show today. But we also have another big fantasy name out today. James Robinson out today for the Jaguars against the Buffalo Bills with a heel injury. Carlos Hyde to get the start in his place. I have a feeling you'll hear about Carlos Hyde later, but for the most part, Adam, any running back, especially one towards the bottom of the food chain, is not going to fare too well against the Buffalo Bills.
No, not at all. I don't think anyone's topped 55 yards against them this year. So, well, it's losing James Robinson is big to fantasy owners. It's probably not that big of a loss to the Jaguars as far as the outcome of this game goes. But Carlos Hyde's still going to get a lot of volume, I imagine, in this game. I just wouldn't have too high of expectations for points coming out of it.
I would certainly agree with that. Only in super, super deep leagues are you even touching Carlos Hyde today, but I would avoid him like the plague. You'll hear about that from me later. But the big news in fantasy, and this broke a little after our show last week, we were just talking about it, Adam, about there has to be something going on with Calvin Ridley, and we were hoping he was okay. Sure enough, pretty much right before kickoff I think it was right before kickoff or shortly after for the Falcons last week, he announced he's going to be stepping away from football to focus on his mental health. So it kind of throws that team into shambles. But at the end of the day, you think about it, Ridley's doing what he has to do for himself. And hopefully, I know you and I both wish him the best in recovering, and hopefully he can come back strong in the near future. But the big question here, Adam, is how do the Falcons replace a player like Ridley, or can they even do that?
Well, I mean, come Monday, there's going to be a player available they could replace him with, I would say, and Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be on the waiver wire with Julio gone, Ridley's future uncertain. They may need somebody like Odell to come in there. I like the Falcons as one of the top 3 or 4 teams to look at maybe signing him. But yeah, the Ridley thing came right before kickoff last week. We know he missed a game for personal reasons a few weeks ago. And then with this one coming up, they've put him on I think it's on the PUP list they put him on. So he's going to miss at least 3 weeks, they say. And who knows after that what's going to happen. Like you said, we both hope for his best. Mentally he can get things on track and get his life back on track and then worry about football after that. So in the meantime, you're going to have to make adjustments on your team. Hopefully you've had some depth at wide receiver. And, while he's been getting a ton of targets, he hasn't produced big numbers yet. So you can hopefully replace him without too much trouble on your fantasy team right now. But he's a bigger loss to the Falcons right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. I think Odell could be perfect position to land in Atlanta. And that's another thing to talk about, too, is that whole situation. It really quickly escalated down there in Cleveland. It went from him having, being dismissed from practice and ripping Baker Mayfield, Odell's dad going after Baker Mayfield. It got kind of nasty there towards the end. Is he a elite wide receiver on the right team, or is he just kind of middle of the pack to you, Adam?
Man, it's so hard to say at this point with him. We've seen the talent, it's there. I got to think if he gets in the right situation where he's needed, that he could still be quite productive. Maybe not what we saw those first 3 years of his career, because let's face it, he's getting closer to 30 at this point and always seems to have a nagging injury. But if he's healthy and gets with a guy like Matt Ryan, with an experienced quarterback like him who's used to having a go-to receiver, I think he could produce one for a team like Atlanta.
Yeah, I think so too. And, I sent you a tweet earlier this week from Field Yates saying all the statistics from Odell when he played for the Browns.
Oh,
In his tenure there, he only played 29 games, only 114 catches for 1,586 yards, only 7 touchdowns, Adam, and he only had 2 games with over 100 yards receiving. Definitely not what Browns fans expected when they traded for him, right?
Absolutely not. I mean, that's not what anyone expected when they traded for him. I don't have the answer to what it is there, but him and Baker were never on the same page from the beginning. We've seen the Browns' record is better when Beckham's not playing with them. Baker's stats are better when Beckham's not playing with them. It's always kind of felt like having Beckham out there puts pressure on Baker that he has to force the ball to him. And
Yep.
Baker plays a lot better when he's just free to feel like he's open to throw to anyone. So I think it's best for all parties involved that he's moving on, and hopefully he can get back on track and be a productive player again.
Yeah, I hope so too. And it means good things for Jarvis Landry's fantasy stock too. So, there's a plus there if you're a Landry owner. Before we get into our starts and sits of the week, Adam, I do want to take a look at some of the bye weeks this week. We're approaching the tail end, at least it feels like the tail end of the bye weeks, and some big names on the wire, or not on the wire, on buys this week. You got the Buccaneers, of course, Tom Brady and company, the Washington football team, the Detroit Lions, and Seattle Seahawks. So a lot of big names missing from lineups. So I'm figure you're probably gonna have a lot of people looking for either a quarterback or a wide receiver, maybe a tight end this week, because you got your guys like Hawkinson and Gronk and Gerald Everett, a guy that I thought was going to be great this year and hasn't done much of anything. So we're going to talk about some of these bye week plugins later today, but I think quarterback, Tom Brady owners are probably in a rough position, and I know I'm one of them.
Yeah.
Who are some people that owners can look on the wire if they really need a quarterback today, Adam? I know you and I have talked about a few guys here before we went live, but if you had a streamer and you needed to go pick somebody up right now that is available on waivers, who are you grabbing?
Well, I think a guy like like we talked about, Daniel Jones, maybe Jordan Love. Some of these guys could fill in for the week. Who knows what we're going to get out of Jordan Love tonight, but he's at least going to be in what we expect to be a high-scoring game, or at least where he's going to need to score points and probably push the ball some. And we know Devontae Adams is back, so that's going to be a huge help for him.
Exactly.
Yeah. So he's a guy you can look at. Also, Daniel Jones, like we said, because he can get you some points with his legs. They're playing against the Raiders, I believe. So there's some options out there. I also like Baker Mayfield today, as we just spoke about the Browns and Baker. I look for him to we know Baker kind of has that attitude where he's looking to show somebody up. So I think after all this stuff this week with Beckham and him out of the picture, Baker's poised to have a big game today and kind of prove that I can get it done with or without Odell Beckham Jr. and his nonsense out here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have Aaron in the chat asking our thoughts on Cousins versus Baltimore today, Adam, as another guy that you could use as a potential fill-in. What do you think about Cousins? I think you and I both love the matchup.
Yeah. Hi, Aaron. Want to say what's up to you first, buddy. Yeah, I actually like Kirk Cousins I'm going to talk about him in a minute. I think he's got a good chance of putting up some points. As I've mentioned before, Cousins is one of those guys that can save your fantasy week in the fourth quarter of a game, especially when they play good teams like Baltimore. They can get a little bit behind, but Cousins will throw 2 touchdowns and 200 yards in the fourth quarter just in catch-up mode. And with weapons like Jefferson and Thielen and another guy I'm going to talk about in a little bit at tight end, he's got a lot of options. They've also talked about getting Cook more involved today, so that bodes well for the Vikings. And I think Kirk Cousins is a viable option. The Ravens haven't been great against the pass.
I love that. I think everyone loves that. But without further ado, Adam, let's dive headfirst into our starts and sits of the week. And I think quarterback's probably the best place to start. Before we get to those, chat room, do not hesitate to ask us any questions here live in the chat. We will answer them throughout the course of the show. So get those comments and questions in. We'll be getting to them shortly. But Adam, we will go ahead and we'll start with your quarterback starts of the week. So let's take a look.
All right. Well, one of them, like we just mentioned, Kirk Cousins. There, as Aaron asked about, really like him in this matchup. Like I said, lots of weapons. Baltimore defense that has kind of been up and down. They underperformed for a long time. They've played a little better the last couple of weeks, but Cousins just has a lot of weapons, and he can get it done fantasy-wise almost every week for you. He's a very consistent floor play. He's not going to kill you. He's a great bye-week fill-in, I think. Especially if you have somebody like Kyler Murray or something like that today that's very questionable. I would feel much more comfortable playing Kirk Cousins over Kyler Murray in my team.
I agree.
Baker Mayfield, also I mentioned a minute ago, I look for him to have a big game coming off of all this drama that's been going on in Cleveland this week. Like I said, Baker just has that edgy attitude where he's going to go out and try to prove you wrong. And I think in a showdown of the state of Ohio today versus Cincinnati, it's going to be I think that's going to be one of the best games of the day, honestly, Joe. And I also like Derek Carr versus the New York Giants today. Again, they've had more controversy going on with the Raiders this week.
A lot.
Very, very unfortunate circumstances out there. Hearts go out to everybody involved in that situation. Derek Carr also seems to be one of those guys that thrives on coming out of these moments and lifting the team up. And regardless of what you think about him as a player, Derek Carr, I think, is proven to be a great leader out there. His team always seems to trust him, and I think he's going to come out and have a big game versus the Giants and probably throw for 350 today and a couple of touchdowns. So I expect a big game out of all three of these guys.
I'm in line with you totally, 100% on Carr. If you go to my quarterback starts, he's my number one quarterback start of the week. Nice. I do love that matchup against the New York Giants. I think Carr is going to go hog wild. And you got a healthy Darren Waller today, Adam, which I think is the big factor. He's coming back ready to rock and roll. And if you're a Darren Waller owner, you got to be excited because this is a guy that I think is jonesing to get out there, and he's got a great matchup to boot. So it's all good things for Derek Carr today. Even look at all the Hunter Renfrow as well. I think is going to have a great day. You might hear about him later in the show. That's what we call a spoiler, a tease spoiler. Then I love Joe Burrow as well against Cleveland today. This is a guy that every single week that I doubt him, he continues to prove me wrong. Cleveland has been up and down against the pass this year, and Joe Burrow and company have all the weapons to really confuse an elite defense. As long as Joe Burrow gets the ball out of his hands quickly today, I could expect him to have a huge day against the Browns. So I love Joe Burrow today. And same thing with Jalen Hurts, the number 4 quarterback, I believe, in all of fantasy right now on a team that's not great, but he gets the fantasy stats. The Chargers defense, I called them elite 4 weeks ago, and they've continued to be awful for almost 4 weeks straight. They have good players, just they can't put it all together. Do I think the Eagles win this game? Probably not. But I do think Jalen Hurts has a big day. He's going to run for at least 100 yards. You could book that. I'd be willing to bet money on that. And then you figure he's going to throw for over 200 yards and probably pass for a touchdown or two. And that's a golden fantasy day right there. So Jalen Hurts owners, I wouldn't hesitate to put him in. I have Dak Prescott in one league against Denver and Jalen Hurts against LA. I haven't decided who I'm playing yet in that one. It's pretty close, but those guys are neck and neck for me. That's how good we're talking about with Jalen Hurts. So, Adam, I got to ask you, I know you're a Jalen Hurts owner. What do you think about him today against LA, and would you start him over a Dak Prescott?
I would not start him over Dak Prescott. No, Dak Prescott's a must start for me. If he's healthy and on the field, I think you have to play Dak Prescott every week, no matter what. That being said, Jalen Hurts is a terrific play as well. As you said, he's going to get it done with his legs. That's always going to save your day in fantasy with Hurts. We saw last week they just dominated running the ball from the moment that they kicked off, and he didn't even have to throw, but I think 14 or 15 times in the whole game. So that's not going to be that easy against the Chargers today. We know they can score. Really hoping Herbert can get that team going and that offense moving, which is going to force Hurts to fight right back against him. And I look for Hurts to have a really good game as well and be a very safe play today.
I would agree. And Ronnie comments in the chat, West Coast teams don't travel well to the East Coast. This is also very true. I think fantasy-wise, these guys are going to get it done today. I don't really know what to expect from the game. If I was a gambling man, I probably wouldn't bet on either team to win or the spread. But one thing I would be happy to bet on is the over on whatever it is in this game, because I have a feeling it's going to go over big time.
The games have been so hard to predict this year. Every game you think is going to obviously be one way seems to go the other way every week. It's been one of the hardest seasons to predict the outcomes of the games, not just fantasy wise, but for the actual football game, the score. It's, the Chargers, for example, some weeks they look like they could be a Super Bowl contender, and the next week they could lose to the Eagles today. You just never
I know.
Yeah, it's really been wild this year.
I'm with you. Ronnie mentioned they lost to the Pats last week. The Chargers laid an egg, and how's Herbert going to do? I think fantasy wise, he'll be fine today. It's a matter of, it just depends on how that defense plays today is going to dictate how that game ends. I really like Austin Eckler today, though. I can tell you that much.
Oh yeah, for sure.
DJ McGrew wants to know our thoughts on Jordan Love getting his debut today against the Chiefs. He's going to start the Chiefs defense today. It's not a horrible call, but I would say Adam and I feel very, very strongly about the Chiefs defense being one of the worst ever in fantasy.
Yeah.
So even with Jordan Love, I do not recommend starting the Chiefs defense. Adam, I'm sure you feel similarly, right?
I don't feel comfortable about it, but I do think you could play them this week, actually, Joe. Do you know, I know they picked up Melvin Ingram this week from the Chargers, actually, which could be a big help for them if they can get some more pass rush. I'm not sure if he's playing today or not, if he's ready to go, but moving forward, I think he's going to help them a lot. And while we talked about Jordan Love being a decent play and probably get some fantasy points, I still think he could have a couple of turnovers, and you never know. Tyrann Mathieu could catch one, take one in the end zone, and make the Chiefs a good play today. All you need is one play like that off a quarterback in his first start.
That is the honest to God's truth. It's going to be wild. I just want to see what Jordan Love's going to do.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
No shortage of entertainment today in the football world. And for all you folks out there that like Yellowstone, that show comes back tonight too, if you haven't seen that on the Paramount Network. So they're not even a sponsor. I'm just talking about it because I love the show. Although Yellowstone, if you want to sponsor the show, that'd be fine. No problem. Anyway, let's dive into our running back starts of the week, and I'll go ahead and do mine first. I have him listed last here, but my start of the week is Myles Gaskin today against the Houston Texans. Houston is a horrible defense. They cannot stop the run. Myles Gaskin is going to catch passes, and he's going to be heavily involved in this game. I love Gaskin today against the Texans. I think he is a must start. And I know people are going to tell me he's been on a roller coaster all year. They use him a lot this week. He's not used much this week, up and down. While that may be the case, if they don't use him against Houston, they are absolute fools because he's by far the most talented running back on that team. I love Myles Gaskin today. I do like Elijah Mitchell today against the Arizona Cardinals. We did get a little bit of breaking news yesterday when Jeff Wilson was surprisingly activated off of the IR for the 49ers. And I know Adam and I both feel he's going to be heavily involved the rest of the season for them. While I don't know how much you're going to see him today, I do think Elijah Mitchell will get enough volume to be considered the guy. And I think he could easily be close to 90 to 100 yards with at least a touchdown, maybe two today. So you got to love that out of Mitchell. And I love Darrell Williams against Green Bay tonight. I think he's going to be the big dog getting fed all night long. Kansas City finally starting to realize, Adam, that they need to have a balanced attack if they want to win. And Williams has been far superior to CEH or any other options that they've had in quite some time. I like what I see out of him. So all three of these guys for me are close to must starts. Mitchell is the only guy that's not a must start for me here. The other two are. But I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys can do, especially Myles Gaskin. I think he's going to go off today. And especially with the addition of Tua being out, you figure a guy like Brissett's going to have to utilize a guy like Myles Gaskin in this game. Perfect game plan for them to have a shot to beat Houston. But Adam, what about your running back starts of the week?
Joe, I really like those picks of yours there, especially Gaskin. Absolutely in that game, especially with Tua out now. I've got my number one this week is Chase Edmonds, a guy I haven't been that high on all season, but he's consistently getting the job done when he gets his opportunities. And in this game where Kyler Murray's highly questionable, Hopkins is doubtful, it sounds like. I think they're going to need to move the ball on the ground and in the short passing game. And Edmonds can definitely come into play in that in the screen game, things like that. I mean, it's highly likely we're talking about Colt McCoy playing quarterback tonight, as far as I know. So I look for Chase Edmonds to really be a threat in the passing game, catch 5 or 6 balls, and have his fair share of carries, probably 10, 12 carries on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he can easily get in the end zone and have a good game today. So I really like Edmonds this week. Another guy I love this week is Damian Harris for the Patriots versus Carolina. Carolina's really been struggling lately. The Patriots are the exact opposite, really seem to be finding their identity, playing solid football every week. Mac Jones is just getting the job done for Belichick, running the game plan every week, whatever's asked of him. And Harris seems to be the identity of that team. When they get him 15 to 20 carries, they're winning games. And he's finding the end zone once or twice a week the last couple of weeks. I think he's got 3 touchdowns the last 2 weeks. And I think he's going to continue that today versus Carolina, who's been struggling. Another guy I like who we've mentioned numerous times this season, and it's kind of an up and down roller coaster with him and this whole backfield in Buffalo, but Zach Moss today I like versus Jacksonville. I think you and I both think Buffalo is going to get ahead in this game by a lot.
Big time.
Yeah, and I think Moss and even Singletary can get quite a few carries today. But to me, Moss has just looked so good in all aspects of the game, on the ground and in the passing game. And I think he gets at least a touchdown today in what's going to be a blowout game for Buffalo. Josh Allen's just going to light them up probably in the first half, and then the second half the running backs take over. So that's why I really like Zach Moss today. And those are the 3 guys I like to have big games today at running back, Joe.
I'm in full agreement on all 3 of those. And it's kind of weird that Bill Belichick an offense has a running back that is reliable in fantasy now. It almost feels like I'm going to wake up from a dream any second now, but it's true.
Yeah.
Bill's figuring out he's going to have to win a different way with a new quarterback, because Mac Jones isn't going to sling it for 400 yards a game. He's going to throw for like 250, and then they're going to run and do what they have to do on defense. And it was an impressive win last week. I'm not going to lie. This Patriots team is surprisingly good. I think they're better than their record lets on right now. So they're definitely a team to watch out for.
But are they 4-4 now?
I believe they are back to 500. Yes.
Yeah. I agree. I think they're a better team than that even.
Yep, they are 4-4. They're only they're 4-4, just behind the Bills in that division right now. So
they play great.
Bills, of course.
They play great defense. They run the ball and they don't turn it over. I mean, that's the recipe for winning right there.
That's it. And the Bills are 5-2. Surprisingly, the strangest thing about the Patriots right now, Adam, is that they are 1-4 at home, but they are undefeated on the road at 3-0.
That is surprising. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's very un-Belichick-like, but imagine if they were halfway decent at home, which I'm sure the second half of the season, I'm sure they will be. So
right,
just something to keep an eye on. But crazy little stat there. But let's dive into our wide receiver starts of the week, Adam, and I will let you lead things off here.
All right, Joe. I think we both talked about Miami today and how much we like that offense, and their number one receiver this year has been Jalen Waddle. He's just been the go-to guy for Tua and for Brissett when he was playing. He just sees consistent target load every week. The thing that surprises me about Waddle is we haven't seen the huge plays yet out of him like he was known for in college. He was known for breaking these long, screen passes over the middle and taking them to the house, and we've yet to see that. So I feel like that's still coming out of Waddle. He has blazing fast speed, And I think it's a slight downgrade without Tua there, but Brissett's still going to look to Jalen Waddle and Mike Gesicki today when he needs to convert third downs, things like that. So I really like Waddle to continue what's been a really consistent rookie season. Another guy I love today is Emmanuel Sanders. He had a donut last week and just killed a lot of people out of nowhere.
Me included.
Yeah. I mean, that came out of nowhere. He has been so good for Buffalo this year. He is really impressed every week. He seems like he doesn't age. He still has the speed. He's got all the moxie he needs out there to keep making plays all game long. So again, as we talked about, Buffalo probably putting up 30 points in the first half of this game is possible. I think Emmanuel Sanders would be a big part of that. And I think he bounces back and makes fantasy managers feel a lot better about last week. And then another guy that I think is going to have a bounce back game that we haven't talked about in a few weeks, I don't believe, is Brandon Cooks. He's had a couple of tough matchups the last couple of weeks after a really great start to the season. And then they've had the quarterback injuries. And today, I believe Tyrod Taylor is going to be back behind center for Houston. Yep. And, man, those first few games with Tyrod and Brandon Cooks, man, he looked really great. Cooks always gets the job done. If they target him, he always makes the plays. That Houston-Miami game, I look for a lot of points to be scored. So I think Cooks gets a lot of targets and a lot of yardage and catch-up time. So those are three guys I really like today, Joe. A lot of bounce backs.
I agree. I think Brandon Cooks will be back in a big way. To be honest, I was surprised Cooks didn't get traded at the deadline after all that drama down there. But, I mean, Tyrod loves the guy, and Tyrod's a much better quarterback than he's had. So, and Miami's defense is all-worldly bad, almost as bad as the Chiefs. Their secondary might be one of the worst I've ever seen. So look for Brandon Cooks to be wide open many times today. Let's go to my wide receiver starts of the week. And I also have Jalen Waddle. I think he's going to be flying across that field untouched for a good chunk of this game. Don't need to talk too much more about him. Another guy I love is T. Higgins. He came back healthy and appears to be Joe Burrow's quote-unquote secret weapon behind Jamar Chase. And, Higgins is going to be wide open across the middle of the field against Cleveland. They're going to be trying to shut down Mixon. They're going to be, of course, looking at Chase. They're going to be looking at all the offensive weapons that they have down there. So I think Higgins is going to have a great day today. I love him the second half of the season. He has a trade target before the deadline coming up here, and I think 2 or 3 weeks most fantasy leagues have their deadline. So look at T. Higgins as a great option there. And then I love Hunter Renfrow today. I know I talked about him a little bit earlier, but the New York Giants secondary, not very good. The entire team is banged up. And, of course, Derek Carr is going to be hungry, wants to quiet the critics today. There's been so much drama in Las Vegas this entire season. This is their chance to, show everyone that they're the real deal, regardless of all the stuff going on behind the scenes. And Hunter Renfrow, I think, is the best wide receiver on this team. And he's going to be working out of the slot. And he might even get open deep in this game. But I expect him to see most of his action, out of the slot across the middle of the field. And we know that's where Derek Carr loves to go. Between him and Waller, you can't lose today in fantasy with those guys. So all three of these guys, I expect to have big day at the office, and it's going to be fun to watch. Thank you, man. Ronnie mentions that Cooks, remember, he got knocked out of the Super Bowl. Yeah. Oh, we did get a question here from Aaron about Robert Woods, which we'd probably address. He is questionable for today for the Rams, but last I read, Adam, he is expected to play in this game. Aaron asking if she should start Claypool against the Bears instead. What are your thoughts there?
That's a pretty tough call. I think if Robert Woods is playing, I would probably still play Robert Woods. He kind of had a rough start to the season, at least it felt like. But if you look back, he's actually been quite consistent. It's just in comparison to Cooper Kupp's games, it looks bad. But everybody else does in the league compared to Cooper Kupp right now. So I personally, if Robert Woods is playing today, I would play Woods over Claypool. The Steelers just inconsistent.
So here's what you do, Aaron. you got to start Woods if he's playing, but if he's not playing, what do you do? Because it's a Sunday night. It's a late game, right? I'm double
Yeah,
checking here.
that actually is the night game tonight. So
Yeah,
at least
it's the night game
tomorrow. Yeah, you have Claypool
right
till tomorrow to figure out. So.
Well, you got Claypool tomorrow, but I still wouldn't start Claypool against the Bears. So what I would do, and you might do it differently, Adam, but I would also pick up Van Jefferson off of waivers, who's available in a lot of leagues. And if you don't get Robert Woods, you get Van Jefferson with a higher target count. I like Van Jefferson even if Robert Woods plays tonight, but especially like him better if he doesn't. So I think either of those guys would be a better option than Claypool. Would you agree with that, Adam?
Yeah, I would. Van Jefferson he's looked really good. He's looked great all season, but the last 3 weeks or so, he's really kind of taken that starting job as the number 3 receiver there behind Kupp and Woods, and his targets have become really consistent and fairly high. And he gets down the field. He's a fast guy. He can get down the field and make deep plays. So yeah, that's actually a great strategy, Joe. If you can afford the roster spot to stash Jefferson now, kind of see what happens this afternoon before that game tonight. I would play either of the Rams over Claypool.
Yeah, I forget what league it is. I've got Robert Woods. I also added Jefferson just because, why not have the insurance policy?
Absolutely.
I believe that's a league where I really need a win too. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. That could pay off for me today. We'll see. But great question, Aaron. I appreciate that. We do appreciate the question. DJ McGrew, Aaron, just don't play either. Leave that spot blank. I'm sure your team will be fine without that spot filled. Something tells me Aaron and DJ are playing each other this week.
There's always a pretty high competition level there between those two guys every week. Even if they're not playing each other, they find a way to compete against each other.
Well, it's all about the friendly competition, right?
Oh, it is. It is.
Let's dive into tight ends because I feel like tight end has become a very strange position in fantasy, especially with the bye weeks. But I'm going to go with another guy that I had last week as my start of the week, and he came up for fantasy owners, scoring a touchdown. I love Pat Freiermuth, the tight end for the Steelers against the Bears tomorrow night. They've been involving him more and more. Big Ben, his arm not what it used to be, and you got Big Pat across the middle, wide open most of the time. He's getting around 6 to 7 targets a game, which is fantastic for a tight end. I expect him to score a touchdown against the Bears tomorrow night, no question. So you got to fire him up if you have him. Dallas Goedert has been on this list for the last 2 or 3 weeks. He gets targeted from Hurts. The Chargers, not good across the middle of the field. As Adam and I both have seen the last couple of weeks, this Chargers defense seems to be in a weird place with communication with each other, and I think that's why they're kind of all over the place. Hopefully they had a good week of practice, but I still think Goddard is going to do enough to be a quality fantasy option this week. And then we don't need to tell you 800 times more, but we've been talking about Mike Gesicki all show long. The safety blanket for the Dolphins. The dude has been a target machine regardless of who's throwing the ball. And Houston might be the worst team against the tight end in football from what we've seen over the course of the year. So with that said, I like all 3 of these guys. I think they all 3 score a touchdown this week. You might even see 2 out of Freiermuth against the Bears, especially if it's as bad as I think it's going to be on Monday night. But nonetheless, all 3 of these guys, quality options. You can definitely get Freiermuth off the wire most likely, and he could help you hopefully win a game this week. But Adam, let's take a look at your tight end starts of the week.
All right, Joe. I love a couple of those picks. As you see, obviously I have Dallas Goedert again on this list as well. He's just a must start right now, along with the guy you mentioned, Mike Gesicki. I know we talk about Gesicki every week, it seems like, but I don't know if people really truly realize how good Mike Gesicki has been. He's up to the number 4 tight end in PPR this season. Yep. You're talking right behind Kelsey, Waller, those guys, there he is, Kelsey, Waller, Andrews, Gesicki. He's just getting so many targets every week, and some of them are long ways down the field too. He's making big catches, 20-plus yard catches a lot. and he mostly actually plays as a wide receiver. He only plays from the tight end position a handful of plays a game. It's almost unfair that he even is classified as a tight end still. So yeah, I love him. Love Goddard again today in this offense. We saw last week. We mentioned how Hurts only threw the ball 14 times last week, but Goddard had 6 targets out of 14 throws. That's, he's getting almost half the target share in that game. So, that's going to happen again when they need him today. I also like Dalton Schultz for Dallas today versus Denver. I believe the Cowboys will put Blake Jarwin on IR, I heard, and he's going to be out for a few weeks. So he wasn't taking a lot of work from Schultz, but I think it just opens up the window a little bit more for Schultz to be the go-to guy there. So I look for him to have a nice game today, as he's had a couple of down games from the way he started the season. With Prescott back, I think that gets corrected. And another guy I alluded to earlier in this Vikings game, talking about Kirk Cousins and all his weapons, Tyler Conklin. Man, that guy is really good. He's a really good player. I think he could be.
He is.
Yeah, he could be a star on a lot of teams. He gets a little overshadowed by Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. But in this game versus Baltimore, as we mentioned, Cousins can put up a lot of points, especially in the second half of it. I could easily see Tyler Conklin getting wide open in the end zone on something, the play action from the goal line or something with Cook, and they just toss it over to Conklin. He's extremely athletic, and he made some really great catches last week in that game. And I could definitely see it happening again versus Baltimore. So Conklin's a guy to keep on your radar the rest of the season. I think he's a very good fill-in and a very good if you want to bench tight end on your bench, I think Tyler Conklin's a great guy to have.
Yeah, and that's what I did actually in our Ballroom network. Adam, I have Darren Waller as my tight end, but then we have a flex play that I had Russell Gage in there. But I'm not sure what to expect out of him against New Orleans today. So yeah. I had Tyler Conklin against Baltimore, great matchup. So I put Conklin in there over Gage today. And I hope that I might get some lightning in a bottle there. So we'll see what happens. But I agree. I think Conklin is going to be a great fantasy tight end for a long time. We got a great question here in the chat, which is a good point. George Kittle is off of IR, and he's going to be on a bit of a snap count today.
Yeah.
But Travis wants to know, is he back and is he going to play? Yes, he is going to play. I do not know the extent of what he's going to be involved. So I'm not quite confident enough yet to give him the full start unless you don't really have anybody else. But I do think you could probably get 2 or 3 catches out of him today for maybe, 30 to 40 yards. And if he gets one of those for a touchdown, you're looking at a decent fantasy day. Adam, can you trust George Kittle today?
Well, I personally am going to trust him. I'm going to play him on my team that he's been on my IR slot for a few weeks. I am going to start him today. I did hear it sounds like they're thinking he's going to play about 50% of the snaps, but Kittle only needs a couple of good plays and he can make your day for fantasy. We've seen him, run over people and take one 50, 60 yards to the house. So I got a feeling Kittle's really urging to get back out there and is going to be ready to play. And even on a limited count, I'm playing him. I think he's a must-start tight end anytime he's out there.
I love it. And Travis says he has Dawson Knox, who's out today, so he doesn't have much choice. And, I would definitely start him over someone who's not playing, that's for sure. So
yeah,
I have one league where I have to start him too, and I think it could pay off for fantasy owners, especially given how involved he is in that offense. While we're on the subject of tight ends, we got 2 tight end questions in the chat. DJ wants to know, do you got Derrick Henry or CJ Uzomah today? Not Derrick Henry. Geez, Hunter Henry. I got the wrong Henry on the mind. Geez, I don't love either matchup for these guys today, but I would say Hunter Henry has been by far the more consistent in terms of targets, but I believe Uzomah has more touchdowns. I'd have to look at the stats, but they're pretty neck and neck for me, Adam. Where do you land?
Yeah, that's a pretty tough call there on that one, DJ. I think if you're the underdog in the matchup, I would play Uzomah for the upside and the big play potential. He's more likely to get you 20 points or has a better chance at 20 points, but could also get you 2. Henry,
Yeah.
Hunter Henry is a lot safer to get you 6 or 7 points and could get you 12, 13. We've seen Henry, I think, 4 games in a row with a touchdown, I believe. I'm going to keep riding that. Like we said, New England's got an identity. It's run the ball, safe throws for Mac Jones. He obviously looks for Hunter Henry in the end zone. So I think I would lean Hunter Henry for the safe play.
Yeah, I think I would agree. And let's be honest, Hunter Henry just is getting it done for owners lately. So you got to ride the hot hand. Caesar wants to know, is Peoples-Jones an option today? I would say so.
I think he is.
I mean,
as far as
there's
I know,
no OBJ.
Yeah, he's going to step into that role. As far as I know, he's going to take that position. So I think he's definitely an option.
Yeah, I would definitely throw him in there if especially if you need a wide receiver 2 or 3. I'd say he's probably a 3 with an upside for a 2. So you can't go wrong with that. DJ says he agrees. Appreciate that, DJ. So we got through our tight end starts. We got through our wide receivers, quarterbacks, running backs. It's been crazy start of the morning. So without further ado, we are going to take a quick commercial break, about 2 minutes after we hear a word from our Barroom Network sponsors, and then we will be right back after this.
The Barroom Network presents 2 fired up Bears fans. They are ready to rumble on the Bear Debate.
And we are back after that quick commercial break. Adam and I are going to get to our sits of the week and our sleepers of the week. So before we do that, I just want to remind everyone that you saw the commercial there for the Barroom Network swag shop. You can head over to deepdishtees.com/barroom, and you can get all the great merchandise for all the shows here on the Barroom Network. You can get Fantasy Football Goon, Barfly Tailgate Show, Dan and Aldo Bear Their Souls, Bear Football, South Burb Setmen, Friendly Confines, Bulls Gold, Bulls 101, the whole shebang. And even Buffon 55, Mike North Advantage. There's so many great shows on this network, and you can go and pick up a t-shirt or a hat and help support us in what we do. So we would greatly appreciate that if you could do that. And even if you can't, we just appreciate you tuning in. Usually I would have my Fantasy Football Goon hoodie on, but it's in the wash. My dog slobbered all over it this morning, so I didn't want to come on air covered in dog slobber. So that thing is in the wash right now, but it gets a lot of wear. And I know Adam's got his Fantasy Football Goon swag and stickers too.
Yeah,
you can't go wrong with that stuff. So we appreciate the support in any way we could possibly get it from you. So head over to deepdishtees.com/barroom and check it out. We would really appreciate that. But Adam, we're going to get into our sits of the week now. And it's been a bit of a wild ride for some of these people on this list. But let's start with your sits of the week. Let me pull them up for you. And here we go.
All right, Joe, thanks. My first one today is a guy that's actually been quite surprisingly successful this season is James Conner. I think he's got like 7 or 8 touchdowns already this year. And he seems to get all those goal line carries. But I mentioned earlier in the week, earlier in the show, Chase Edmonds is a guy I really like today in this game with the potential for Kyler Murray being out. This is assuming Kyler Murray's out. I just don't think they're going to have the luxury of running James Conner a whole lot. They're not going to be putting up 30 points so quickly. And I think it's going to be more of an Edmonds game. So I definitely lower expectations for James Conner today for San Francisco. I actually think San Francisco is going to win that game. Another guy is Matt Ryan. He's been up and down this season. He's looked better the last few weeks, but now we know Calvin Ridley's out for an extended period of time now. It's basically Kyle Pitts out there getting the targets and versus a tough New Orleans defense that's everyone knows they're good, but I think people don't realize how good they really are. They're in the top 5 against like almost every position, I believe.
They gave Brady fits last week, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they can do that to Tom Brady, I mean, God knows what they can do to Matt Ryan without hardly any weapons out there. So I don't think Matt Ryan's going to have a very good game today and probably going to be a long day for him. I look for New Orleans to run over the Falcons today. Another guy, this is more of a hopefully you're not still trying to play this guy anymore. And, I mean, he's almost just a flat-out drop at this point.
Yeah.
But a beloved guy to us is Allen Robinson. You just can't put him in your lineups anymore if you're still trying. I mean, surely eventually he's going to have a good game, but you can't take 10 bad ones in the meantime to keep waiting for it. He's going against a solid Pittsburgh defense tomorrow night, so I really can't see how this is going to be the game any more than the last couple of weeks should have been. So if you're still trying to play Allen Robinson, it's time to stop. Put him on the bench, or God forbid, if you can get anything for him in a trade, do it. Otherwise, he's just a bench right now. Unfortunately, that's one of the biggest busts of fantasy draft, I would say, this year is Allen Robinson.
Yep, I missed out on him in a few leagues, and I was upset at the time. But now I'm not too upset about that one.
No.
So I agree. I think those are all great sits, Adam. We got a question in the chat. Damian Harris or McNichols today? I think we're both probably aligned on this one, Adam. Damian Harris has to be the play here, right?
Absolutely. Damian Harris is one of the starts of the week at running back, and McNichols' role is kind of going to be defined today. I think we'll see between him and Peterson playing. And Damian Harris is the guy right now for New England. We've talked about him already. He's definitely the starter, and he's definitely the play over McNichols today.
Yeah, Harris is the first dependable running back I could think of in quite some time for the Patriots since Sony Michel first came in. And then you had Rex Burkhead, and Damian Harris is a quality option, and he's a guy that I would love to have on my squad right now. So you're going to roll with Damian Harris wherever you can. So great question. Really great question. But let's get to my sits of the week. If I could find them, here they are. My first, of course, I'm going to go Carlos Hyde against the Buffalo Bills today. As we mentioned at the top of the show, James Robinson out today for the Jaguars. Carlos Hyde will be starting in his place. And Buffalo is probably the worst matchup you could ask for, especially for a guy on a team like the Jaguars who's filling in. Buffalo has been elite against the run. I believe, Adam, they have only the most they've given up this year is like 54 yards or something on the ground. So tough matchup. You can't expect much out of Carlos Hyde. I would not play him in any capacity, even if I was forced to. I would much rather start a guy like Tony Pollard, or you could pick up off of waivers. Oh, God, why am I drawing a blank here on the name? Derek Gore for the Chiefs today. I'd much rather give him a start over a guy like Carlos Hyde. So I'm not playing Hyde. Brian Tannehill is also a sit for me. I don't know why I messed that up. I messed up the matchup there. I believe they are playing the Rams, not the Chargers.
Right.
So let me fix that real quick to avoid to avoid confusion. There we go. Yeah, Tannehill against the Rams today. No Derrick Henry. The box will be stacked. I can promise you that. I don't imagine he's going to have a whole lot of time to throw the ball. Their whole identity as a team is going to be challenged today. I expect absolutely zero out of Ryan Tannehill today. I think he's going to be running for his life. So I'm not touching him with a 10-foot pole. I think Tannehill has to sit on a bench if you own him, as much as it pains me to say it. Marvin Jones as well against Buffalo. He's been the number one guy down there in Jacksonville in terms of wide receiver. Well, Buffalo seems to make people disappear into the oblivion. Like I said, I don't think they're going to be playing from behind, chucking up a lot of balls, and I just don't see Marvin Jones getting it done for fantasy owners today. So for me, he's a sit. And then last but not least, Tyler Higbee today against the good old fashioned Tennessee Titans. That Higbee is kind of taking a back seat after the emergence of Van Jefferson. I like Higbee a little bit better if there's no Robert Woods in this game, but I envision he's going to play. Just Higbee has been kind of a hidden man. Tennessee very good against the tight end. So for me, Tyler Higbee is a guy that's borderline startable at this point, and I think he's probably more of a bench warmer. I wouldn't go as far to say he's a drop, but I do think you have to ride the pine with him for now. Just not enough out of him right now. Maybe later in the season you'll see that change, but I don't envision that with the emergence of Van Jefferson. So these are all my sits of the week, Adam. And before we do that, before we get to our sleepers, Nate wants to know, is Christian McCaffrey back this week? And I believe the answer is yes, but let me look at the inactive list to make it sure. That he is expected to play. Am I wrong, Adam?
He's currently expected to play. Yeah, I'm not sure about the workload, if it's going to be the full workload or not, but he is expected to play today.
Yep, he is active according to the inactive list. So I imagine you're going to see a little bit of a split. I don't think it'll be a full CMC day because you've seen them rush him back many times before, but I think you're going to see a little Chuba, a little CMC. But if you're finally happy to get him back, if you're a CMC owner, because man, that's been pretty brutal.
Yeah, the last 2 years.
It's funny. Nate asked, and then we get another question from Daniel. Are we still playing CMC today? I personally think it's hard to not play him if you own him.
Yeah.
You kind of have to with what you've invested into him. New England, not the greatest matchup on the ground for him, but CMC might catch 6 balls today. He could be on the field for I don't know, 20 snaps, and in those 20 snaps he could have 6 catches and 6+ carries for like 80 yards. So you got to take it.
Yeah, you have to play CMC if he's finally going to be out there. You got to put him in your lineups. You've waited too long. You can't afford to sit back and watch him have a game like that, even if it is on 10 carries and 6 catches. That can still be 20 fantasy points in a heartbeat with him.
Totally. And Nate's got a great question. Do you play CMC or Edmonds today? I mean, we love Edmonds as a start today as well.
Can you not play both, Nate? What's the other option? Who would you have to kick out to play both?
Yeah, who's your other starter, Nate? Let us know in the chat, because I'd start Edmonds and CMC today if I had the choice. Let us know here in the chat. Travis asking about Kyler Murray. I don't see him playing. Adam and I both think he's not going to play this week. So if you're a Kyler Murray owner, I think you go pick up a Tyrod Taylor. I think he's going to have a great day today against Miami.
Yeah, they're saying Kyler's a true game time decision, and I just don't know that you can afford to wait around on that. It sounds 50-50 at best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Daniel points out, he goes, I have Henderson and Jacobs, but I don't have to play CMC, but how can you not at this point? It's quite the conundrum to be in.
Yeah.
Although those are two great starts right there.
Yeah, Henderson's hard to bench too. So
I don't know, man. I might take Henderson and Jacobs over CMC. I as crazy as it is to say with Jacobs, I really do love that matchup today.
yeah,
It's close.
yeah, that's a really tough one there, Daniel. Man, that's really tough. I think I like Henderson and Edmonds. Yeah, I think I like Henderson and Edmonds out of those four as my top two. CMC would be third, Jacobs fourth.
Yeah, I think Edmonds was on Nate's team. This is different. This is Daniel's team.
Oh,
But
okay. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. All great questions in the chat. What do we got here? DJ wants to know, should we get Adrian Peterson off waivers at this point? Well, I think if you didn't get him by now, you're probably not going to get him.
Yeah.
People picked him up already.
Yeah. I mean, I managed to get him last Sunday night, I think it was, right before he actually signed with Tennessee.
Right before I needed to before I went to go pick him up as the Henry owner. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had a player left for Monday night that I didn't really need, that I was capable of dropping. And before Peterson was assigned to Tennessee, I was able to add him in advance. So, but most leagues, I find it hard to believe he's still available. But I think you got to grab him just to see how this goes. I mean, Peterson's in shape. He's gonna get his fair share of carries and probably definitely get goal line work. So he can definitely be a usable flex, I think, the rest of the season, most likely. But it's going to be interesting tonight to see how much they use him game one, and I think it's just going to go up moving forward, though.
I would agree with that 100%. It's Adrian Peterson's going to try to channel his younger self.
Yeah.
He fits the bill for what they need, so I think you're going to see him get involved.
I mean, Frank Gore was usable up through last season, right? And Adrian Peterson's a physical freak compared to Frank Gore, honestly. So, I mean, I think it can happen.
Totally.
He's not going to be Derrick Henry, but he's going to give you a good chunk of what Derrick Henry was giving you.
Totally. I think you got to have AP on a roster for sure. Travis wants to know what's going on with Nick Chubb. He asked last week and didn't play him, but
I think it's a big Chubb day today.
Yeah, I got a Chubb for Chubb.
I like Chubb a whole lot today. I'm expecting a big game.
Yeah, I love him against Cincinnati today. Look for him to be heavily involved. I think it's going to be vintage Chubb.
Yeah, he looked completely fine last week coming off the injury. He still had 16 or 17 carries. It was just a tough game on the ground for them. But against Cincinnati, they're going to really need him today, and I think Chubb goes off.
I am aligned, man. I'm aligned with you there. Chubb, it's a big Chubb day. I agree. Jesse wants to know CMC or Cordell Patterson today. I think you got to go with CMC. You got to go with your big name guy. He could easily come back in the lineup and blow up if he only did half of the snaps. You can't replicate that. And as good as Patterson's been this year, Adam, I just can't suggest playing him over CMC.
No, me neither. I got to play CMC in this one. Like I said, there's hardly any circumstances where I'm not going to play CMC if I've been waiting this long for him.
No doubt there. And Jamal's in a super deep league. He wants to know, should I go David Johnson or Jeff Wilson? I'm not touching David Johnson. He's been brutal all year. Jeff Wilson's a guy that Adam and I have been talking about as a stash on IR all season long. We think he's the guy the rest of the way for the 49ers. And I would start Jeff Wilson over Johnson. I think you're going to see Jeff Wilson. I'd be shocked if he didn't get at least 10 touches today, Adam, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be interesting to see how much work they give him today, but I think 10 touches is definitely in the cards. Like you said, there's no way I'm playing David Johnson. Moving forward, I think Jeff Wilson gets a lot of goal line work for the 49ers and can be a very valuable player.
No doubt about that. And the questions are just absolutely erupting here. I know we're going to start wrapping the show here in a few minutes, and we do have to get to our sleeper picks. But we're going to take about a couple more questions before we get to our sleepers. Ronnie wants to know if we have any props that you should seriously consider today. I'm looking up to see what the rushing yards total for Jeff Wilson is today. I would probably take that bet. Let me see if I can find it quickly. I'm not touching any Bears props, though. I can tell you that much.
I would take a look at Derek Carr passing yards. Possibly Damian Harris rushing yards.
Yeah, here we go. So rushing yards for – wow, they don't even have anything listed for Jeff Wilson. That's surprising. Over under rushing yards for Rondale Moore is at 4.5 yards. I would take the over on that.
Yep, absolutely. I'm going to mention Rondale Moore here in just a moment.
So yeah, that's surprisingly low. I'm shocked actually. That's really good. And your boy Chase Edmonds is sitting at 73.5 yards as the over under. I'm not touching that.
I mean, that Rondale Moore, that's kind of crazy. That's like one carry.
Yeah, I think Moore will definitely go over 4.5 yards. So Matt says that they love this show in Vegas. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, we love going to Vegas. I would love to go to Vegas. I had to cancel. I was supposed to be there for the NFL draft 2 years ago before COVID canceled. I had a room at Paris staring at the Bellagio fountain where the draft was going to be. And COVID had other plans. But I will be back. Vegas, we love Vegas too. So thanks for tuning in, man. Ronnie wants to know Debo should have a big game tonight, right? I do think Debo will have a big game.
Yep.
Debo's been awesome all year.
Absolutely. Debo's a must-start receiver every single week and top 10 play.
Yep, and looks like he's going to play. I know he's been a little bit banged up the last couple of weeks, but his fantasy numbers haven't showed anything in regards to that. So we've got through all of the questions, and we're going to go to our sleeper picks of the week before we get out of here. Adam, we'll start with you. Who are your sleepers of the week?
I like one of those guys we just mentioned in the props bets, Rondale Moore today versus San Francisco. I think there's a really good chance. It sounds like Hopkins is going to be out. Rondale Moore should be in his role. And again, with Kyler Murray at the risk of not playing, I think there's going to be a lot of short passing, manufactured touches for players like Rondale Moore. Mentioned how much I like Chase Edmonds, again, because the passing game work with Colt McCoy playing quarterback is likely. So I think Rondale Moore could have one of those big games we saw earlier in the season from him today. I also like A.J. Dillon versus Kansas City, the backup running back for the Green Bay Packers. He's looked great all season when they give him work. Last week we saw them really change their game plan, and he was a huge part of it. He had, I think, 15, 16 carries, 75 to 80 yards, somewhere in that range. And he just looks really good. And I think that's the key for the Packers making it through the rest of the season healthy is not overloading Aaron Jones on the ground and letting A.J. Dillon carry some of that load. So I think he's a great play in what could be a high-scoring game where they need points. And I think he could get you be a good flex play. And I really love Kadarius Toney for the Giants today versus Las Vegas Raiders. Sterling Shepard's going to be out. Kenny Galladay's highly questionable again. They just can't get healthy. We know Saquon's still out. Kadarius Toney's been a monster playmaker when he's had the ball in his hands, and I believe he's fully healthy at this point, and I think he's going to get 9 or 10 targets in that game and can easily have a monster game. And one more guy that I'm going to throw in there is a tight end for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Dan Arnold, in a game where they're going to be playing from behind, we expect. He got 10 targets last week and had a really great game. I think he could easily do the same again today, playing from behind. Trevor Lawrence dumping it off to him. And so I think Dan Arnold's a very under-the-radar tight end people can look at.
I love it. Dan Arnold, they acquired him, and they know they're going to use him moving forward. So I love that play. All good sleeper options, man. You can't go wrong there. I also have A.J. Dillon as one of my sleepers of the week. I think he is going to be heavily involved today against Kansas City. Just continues to look good. And I think Green Bay fans have to be excited about the future with him. A guy you talked about earlier, Tyler Conklin. I love him today against Baltimore, especially for a fill-in tight end spot. This guy's a freak athlete, and he continues to make impressive catches week after week. And I think Tyler Conklin is going to score a touchdown today against Baltimore, and you can't ask for more than that. I've got two quarterbacks on this list today as sleepers. Tyrod Taylor against Miami. This is a guy that's healthy again. When he was playing earlier this year, he was looking great. He was throwing a good ball. Him and Brandon Cooks had a good relationship. And, of course, Miami is one of the worst defenses in the league. Tyrod's a guy you can snag off waivers, plug him in, and I think you can probably get close to 30 fantasy points out of him today. I'm going to say you can probably get like 25 to 30 points, and that's a beautiful thing for a sleeper. I picked him up in a couple leagues. Same thing could be said about Jordan Love, although he's more of a question mark because he's not proven in this league. It's his first start, of course. But the Kansas City defense, as Adam and I continue to harp week after week, is arguably the worst defense we've ever seen. And Jordan Love could easily make them look like Swiss cheese if all goes according to plan for Green Bay. Out of the two, I'd prefer Taylor, but if Jordan Love is the only guy available, I do like him as a sleeper today. And then I briefly touched on Van Jefferson earlier today going against the Tennessee Titans tonight. Even if Robert Woods plays, Jefferson has been better and better and better every single week. He runs great routes. He's got great hands, and Matthew Stafford has confidence in him, and that's what matters when it comes to wide receivers. He is a stud. If Robert Woods is out, he is a must start. Right now, he kind of falls into the sleeper / wide receiver 3 conversation, but I'm definitely starting Van Jefferson if I have him either as a 3 or as with Woods out, he'd be a high-end 2. I'm thinking he'll be more of a 3, but Van Jefferson's going to score a touchdown today. You can book it. These are all of our sleeper picks, man. We've covered a lot of stuff today, Adam.
Yes, we have, man. We've been through a lot. I think we got most of the injuries figured out here. We just it's going to be kind of a wait and see with these Cardinals is the biggest ones in question, I think.
Yep. And we got a couple questions here, Adam, before we hightail it out of here. I know we got to get you out of here shortly, but here's a question from Connor. Javonte Williams, Devontae Smith, Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, pick one. I kind of have a hard time benching Devontae Smith here. Wouldn't you agree with that, Adam?
It's definitely between Devontae Smith and Javonte Williams for me. I don't really trust Claypool too much right now.
Same
with Mooney. It's between Devontae Smith and Javonte Williams. I would probably lean Devontae Smith based on the matchup.
Yeah, I like Smith's matchup today. I think the Chargers secondary not looking good. You've got Asante Samuel and Michael Davis both out at corner. Devontae Smith probably going to be heavily targeted and probably going to score a touchdown. So I'd go Devontae. Travis says, love the show, guys. Thanks for all the advice. Have a great show. Have a great day. Bear down.
Thanks,
Bear down, Travis. We always appreciate you tuning in and asking questions. Means a lot, man. Thank you. Let's see here. David Montgomery or Khalil Herbert. People talking about David Montgomery potentially coming off of IR before the game tomorrow night. With that said, I think Khalil Herbert's the safer play because you don't know what you're going to get out of Montgomery, and you don't even know if he's coming off of IR at this point.
Yeah, I definitely, if I had to play one, it would be Herbert out of the two, just till we wait and see what we get out of Montgomery coming back, if he comes back this week.
Yep. Tyler wants to know, Adam, would you go McNichols or Darrell Williams? What do you think?
Darrell Williams, easy.
Williams all day. He's looked fantastic, and the Chiefs. I think he was the lightning in the bottle. The Chiefs need to turn things around. Love Darrell Williams today. Along the same lines, he wants to know Renfrow, Beasley, Jones, or Van Jefferson. Only need one. Out of all those guys, Adam, I know I'm probably a little partial to Renfrow, but I think Renfrow is the most talented guy on that wide receiver core for the Raiders, and I think that matchup against the Giants makes him a must start. Not that any of these guys are bad. I love Jefferson too and Beasley, but what do you think about these four?
I would lean Renfrow in this group as well, Joe. I agree with you there. With them missing Ruggs now, I think Renfrow is definitely the number one guy. going to see a lot of targets. We talked about how much we like Derek Carr today, so I think I would take Hunter Renfrow.
We are fully aligned there. Renfro's going to have a big day today. I really do think that. Emmanuel Sanders or Christian Kirk. I don't think it would ever be a question if he didn't put up a goose egg last week. You're not going to see that again the rest of the season. I'm agreed with Adam. I think Emmanuel Sanders is by far the superior play today. Buffalo has the tastiest matchup you could probably ask for on paper against Jacksonville. Emmanuel Sanders might put up 40 fantasy points today. You got to start Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
And we got 2 more questions, and I promise we're getting out of here, guys. Connor wants to know Carlos Hyde or Javonte Williams. That's Javonte Williams all day long.
Yeah.
Carlos Hyde is a brutal start. No worries about the dogs, man. It's all good. It happens. They're telling us, hey, you got to wrap the show. Let's go. Yeah. But no, Javonte Williams, of course, a better play. Carlos Hyde going against Buffalo. You never want to start a backup running back against the Buffalo Bills or any running back this year. It's been pretty brutal sledding all year long. Love that. Adam, Jamal wants to know Robert Woods or Cole Beasley. What do you think?
Got to play Woods if he's out there. All the Rams. You're not really benching any Rams if they're playing.
That's right. Yeah, Robert Woods has become must start, especially with his play the last 4 weeks of the season. If there's no Robert Woods, pick yourself up some Van Jefferson and stash him on your bench. Could be a great play today. And the last question before we get out of here, we promise this is the last one. If you don't get us a question, you can hit us up on Twitter at FFBGoon, at Papa Bear. Remind me, Adam, it's 816 at Papa Bear 816, and I'm at Joe Mandel. And we will answer your fantasy questions there. But last but not least, Joey Perp says Landry, Debo, Sutton, or Hardman. Pick 2 PPR. Start Debo with the injury. Yes, you absolutely have to start Debo Samuel. There's no doubt about that. And out of Sutton, Hardman, or Landry, I mean, Landry is the number 1 down there, Adam, right? You got to go Debo and Landry, don't you?
Yes, sir. Debo and Landry out of those, without a doubt for me. And as far as the second question goes, Higbee or Freiermuth or Cook, I would go Jared Cook, actually, out of those 3. I think he has a good game today for the Chargers.
Yeah, I think it's between Cook and Freiermuth. I think they both score a touchdown this week. I think their numbers are going to be pretty similar, but Cook has been playing better as of late. So I think I would give the slight edge to Cook, but Cook's probably not available on waivers. Freiermuth is definitely available in most leagues. So if you need a tight end plug-in, Freiermuth's going to give you similar production to that of Cook. So I would go Cook here, but it's close for sure. But we covered so much stuff today: inactives, starts, sits, sleepers, all that fun stuff. Adam, it's always a pleasure talking fantasy with you.
Thank you,
every single week, and I just appreciate you, man. I love Sunday mornings.
Same to you, man. I look forward to it every week, and I'm ready to see how this goes today. Hopefully these games are a little more predictable than they have been, and we get a little bit more of what we expect. Last week was just brutally low scores all around.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of points this week in fantasy. I think you're going to see matchups where the guys have 170 points and they lose. So
yeah,
we'll wait and see in that respect. But thank you to everybody in the chat room who hung out with us all day. Great questions. We love doing this every Sunday with you. Make sure you tune into all the other shows on the Barroom Network. If you're on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. There's a ton of other great shows on this network covering the Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, football in general, science fiction, all that stuff. We cover a little bit of everything, women in sports. Great network. So definitely subscribe, tune in. We greatly appreciate it. And with that, without further ado, I got to remind you guys as well, Bear football, the halftime, the post game and halftime show covering the Bears will be on tomorrow at halftime of the Monday Night Football game, and then at the conclusion of the Monday Night Football game. So it's going to be an awesome, awesome show. Make sure you check that out. And Adam, it's time to get out of here. Kickoff's about 20 minutes away. Let's go kick some butt in fantasy this week. Any last-minute tips for people out there for their lineups before they get them locked in gold?
Just keep your eyes on that Cardinals game if you're worried about Kyler Murray. I think that's the biggest question mark right now. Just keep your eye on how that's looking, shaping up. Make sure you've got a plan B.
That's right. You need a lot of plan Bs in fantasy. It's been that kind of season. That's what we're here for every single week. So hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram. We'll answer your questions, and we greatly appreciate everybody. But for Fantasy Football Goon, I am Joe Mandel the Goon. That's Adam Schaum, the man with the plan. We will see you guys next week after your fantasy victories. Let's go. God bless America. God bless football. And let's kick some ass. We'll see you guys next week.
Good luck, everybody.